Good evening, everybody. It is Steve with Real Progressives. Tonight, we're going to talk about communication. Communication is the ultimate. It's like the essence of victory, right? This is what we're all about. This is what life is all about, is communicating and relating to one another. When we try to frame certain tough subjects and we try to talk about subjects that maybe are not the most readily understood, maybe they're complex subjects, okay? What you have is a situation where everything can go wrong. Everything can go foobar instantaneously. If you are trying to communicate a complex subject, you can pretty much guarantee that Sally, who got different, was raised differently, words mean something different to them. And Billy over here, who lives in an area where everybody's always fighting, so they're already trigger ready. So everything has got some sort of a trigger to it, right? You talk to them, instead of hearing what you're saying, they're digging back to something that they felt at a different time, and they're pushing it onto the moment. And now you're not just dealing with the communication of this one topic, you're also dealing with their perception of what you're saying. Maybe real, maybe not real, but ultimately, as they say, perception is reality. So what do you do with it, right? For as long as I've been doing broadcasts like this, I have been taking a subject that most people do not even want to talk about, which is economics. And economics causes people's heads to explode. Number one, it's mathy, right? They don't like it. It's weird. It's different. And number two, they've been told a lot of stories. They've been told a lot of things that they don't really know how to back it up, because it's not really like they were taught economics. It's really more like they heard economics. They heard some story from a bar stool or from maybe somebody's fireside chat. It wasn't real economics, but it was a good story. You know what I'm saying? And so what happens is that you got to fight through layers and layers of filters. Some filters that warp the story, some filters that make it seem harsher than it is, some filters that make it seem a lot more gentle than it really was, right? And ultimately, you've got to try to be all things to all people. Because if you're communicating something and they don't get what you're saying, you may as well not said it, because you can actually do more harm than good, right? So when we talked, going way back when I first started doing these things, I tried to talk about modern monetary theory. And I tried to explain to people that their federal taxes were deleted, that they didn't actually pay for anything. And everybody had heard that, of course, their taxes are paying for the military, their taxes are paying for the roads, because civilized society, that's what we do. We pay taxes, they build roads, they build the libraries, all this stuff, right? This is the story that we're told. This is the fiction. This is the thick layer of bullshit that we've got to carve through to get to the truth. But the reality is, now not only do you have to carve through layers of bullshit, but now you have to do it in such a way that when they hear your voice, they don't get triggered or offended by how you said it. So it's not just about the content, and it's not just about how you say it. Now it's another set of perceptions that takes you to a whole new realm. And you can see this with intersectional politics all day long. All day long, you've got varying groups that have been oppressed in the past, groups that have been abused in the past, groups that have been used to dominating in the past, each perceiving the same exact statement very, very differently. Very differently. So take economics, for example. Bernie Sanders talked almost nonstop about the economy during his primary. Many African Americans said, we don't want to hear your economic story. We want to hear how you're going to address our needs. Now, Bernie tripped over himself a whole lot of times trying to interpret or trying to say things. He'd bring in this person. He'd bring in that person. He'd bring in all these different people trying to paint himself into a light that made it appear that he understood. He felt their pain, to quote Bubba Bill. Okay? But the reality is that Bernie was very focused on an economic populist message that really is good for all people. It wasn't specific to Group A or Group B. It was specific to all of us, okay? So in Bernie's mind, he's saying, look at me. But in the audience's mind, in the people that were hearing him, they're saying, guys, we've been oppressed forever. We haven't gotten reparations. We have been treated like crap. We've been hung. We've been hanging for as many years as can be. Freaking slavery wasn't the end of it. In the 1950s, I mean, we've been targeted by police even to this day. We're looking for you to talk specifically about our plight. Now, mind you, Bernie's plan would have lifted all ships. It would have helped African Americans as well. But they wanted to hear specifically that he understood their specific plight. And obviously, he was not able to make that case in large enough numbers to make a dent. I think it was some ridiculously high number of African American voters ended up voting for Clinton during the primaries. Part of that is, maybe this is the way they perceived it. Maybe they had people that had built inroads with the party and that believed that Clinton was the right way to go. I don't know. I don't know because I don't know. But when you talk to people and you try to paint a message, try and give a broad stroke message because you don't want to offend one person or the other. You want to give it for all. You got to realize that everybody is perceiving it very, very differently. When you go to work and you look at someone and you say, wow, that's a great jacket you've got on there. Where did you get that jacket? Now, some people would say, wow, okay, he really likes my jacket. That's cool. Hey, I got it from so-and-so. It was $100, man. You can find it online. I bet you there's a 20% discount. Oh, that's great. Or somebody else says, oh my God, I bought this at the Salvation Army. I don't want to tell them that I'm cheap or that I'm poor or that I'm broke and that I bought it from a secondhand store. Or maybe someone else goes, I'm really proud. I'm a real good thrifty shopper. I always go to the Salvation Army or to, Volunteers of America, and they always, always, always buy used stuff. I like going, yard sailing, right? And someone else is like, is he flirting with me? Is he checking out something? Yeah, whatever. Perception. And you are going to have to live and die by perception. And so for years now, I've been angry. I've been passionate. I've been straight up a warrior about the economic illiteracy that's attacking not just America, but the world. And I've been demonstrating time and again that in my mind, I'm fighting for the poor because every time we make an economically illiterate decision, some poor person ends up bearing the weight of that and dies, or they go to jail, or some kid ends up without parents, or they end up without food, whatever. No health care. Another war to boost the economy, right? So that's what makes me go. Well, somebody else goes, oh my God, another cis white angry dude trying to tell us how it is. Shut up, white boy. Or shut up, oh, it's another straight guy telling us how to be. No joke. So what you've got is a situation where people interpret different data, different ways based on where they're coming from. And this is going to haunt or hurt or help our movement depending upon how we react to this reality. Doesn't matter whether we like it. It's just the truth. And you can sometimes say, I'm just too blunt, man. I just say what's on my mind and I mean what I say. And if that's not good enough, too goddamn bad. But the reality is you want something to be successful. You got to fight through your own biases and lens and realize if I'm communicating to this person, I've got to meet them at their point of need. And unfortunately, you don't always know what that point of need is. It's tough. It is tough. It's unfair, quite frankly, but it is what it is. And this is the world we're in, and this is the hand we're dealt. And this is what we must do to impact society, to change hearts and minds so that they can do great things. Now, for those of you who do know me, I'm far beyond driven. I see what needs to be done, and I'm like freaking dead beat, just bead right to it, straight line. I don't hear noise. I push it all away. I don't make small talk. I don't go for all the extra, pats on the back and stuff like that. It's like straight line right to the prize. Well, some people really like that. Some people really fucking hate it. And I mean to tell you, there is no in between. It's kind of like a black or white thing. You either like the style or you fucking hate it. I don't know at fucking almost 50 years old how much change I can do because I do see the urgency, right? And so as I'm presenting an economic message and I see point blank, see the death and destruction, how do I dumb that down and make it less offensive to the easily triggered? How do I come back and just go, well, if we cut spending, some people are going to be hurt by that. It's not going to work. It's not who I am. It's not my message. It's not how it's going to be. I don't know what to say with that. Hopefully somebody out there will have the same message that can say it in a way that doesn't trigger people that don't want to hear it said my way. Because as much as I'll try to change, some people will look at my eyebrows and they'll say, well, his eyebrows make him look like he's a really mean guy. Not that he's fighting for the poor, that he's a really mean guy. And he's a big guy and he's got dark hair and he's white and he's bad. He's alpha. He's a toxic male. He's this, he's that. People will define you by their own value system, by their own lens of history, by the way they interpret data. They will then in turn paint you out to be that. Never mind the fact that I come home every day with an autistic son and try to teach him and help him eat, speak, deal with sensory issues as he spins looking this way and stuff and does stuff like this. My son, that's who I really am, right? But to other people, they say, I don't like his attitude. And at some point in time, you got to realize that even JC, if you believe in the Bible, the sower of seeds, the planter, some seeds went on to clay, some seeds went in sand, some seeds went right in the toilet, and other ones went in fertile land and grew and bloomed. That's talking about like a 25% success rate with the big guy, right? So I'm not sure where I fit in that, but I try my best to be consistent, to be passionate, to be honest, and to be straightforward. I try not to lie. I try to live a life with integrity. And it's still going to be a failure at times. I'm still going to miss the mark. It's just going to be the way it goes. But for our movement and for us to do, quote unquote, each one teach one, it's going to require all of our voices teaching different people different ways so that they hear the same message, but said in a way that they can hear it. I've got many people that followed me from day one that said, don't you dare change a thing. The reason why I follow you is because of how freaking straightforward and unrelenting you are. And then there are other people that say, I can't watch that guy. He's just out of control. I think he's crazy. Seriously, this is the real conundrum we have, communication. Media. You look at our media right now, and they communicate a narrative to us. And that narrative, whether we like it or not, whether we believe it or not, becomes the norm. It becomes the environment. Even if it's based in a complete and utter lie, it's the norm. And these norms oftentimes are made up with the intent of blocking us from some bad behavior, right? So why did we say that Social Security is something we pay into when it clearly isn't? All tax dollars at the federal level are deleted. Those tax dollars that go, the FICA tax is no different than an income tax. Deleted. So when I tell somebody that, and they go, no, you don't understand, Steve. The Republicans raided the balance sheet, the spreadsheet, and took all this money out of Social Security Trust Fund. And then I'm reminded of Alan Greenspan telling Paul Ryan, the U.S. can never run out of money, dude. There is no solvency constraint whatsoever. There was Paul Ryan trying to cram it through, which was a lie. But how many right-wingers and how many lefties believe that the U.S. government is broke? How many believe, right? This perception, believe that the Federal Reserve is owned by the Jews and that the foreign banksters are controlling the land. They own the money supply. How many people believe that, right? They can't quantify it. They heard it from a tale from the fire pit, okay? They heard it at a bar stool, or they read some bad blog somewhere. Maybe they heard it from AMI or Positive Money. But the point is, once again, the James Bond novel becomes the reality for these people. And telling them simply that Congress just needs to authorize spending and it's done is too much for them. It's, you're lying, Steve. Steve, you're lying. He's a liar. He's a scam. It's a psyop. A psyop. Right? A psyop. I love that. It's a psyop. Soros bought them. It's a psyop. See, we don't understand something. Rather than say, I don't understand what you're saying. Can you explain this to me? They define it by what they think the world is, because after all, they couldn't possibly be wrong. And then they attack. You're mean. You said this. You made me feel this way. The only thing federal about the Federal Reserve is the name, man. Nothing federal about it. Private banksters. You know? So how do you beat back the bad thoughts, the dumb thoughts, the thoughts that literally keep us stuck? So think about this. If our movement, which I fight for every single day of the week, it's an unrequited love, to be honest, because I say it, and people, oh, it's a scam. He's scamming us. Where's the payoff, baby? I need some money if I'm going to be scamming. Man, 7 days a week, Why would I scam someone with the stupidest shit, right? But this is the way people process information to keep the way they wanted to see the exchange go, or the way they perceive the exchange to go. They insert their own feels behind it. The trolling that you see about modern monetary theory is redonkulous. But guess what? In no less than a couple months, TYT has had 2 shows now. Nomiki just did one with Stephanie Kelton. You had Richard Wolff doing it. You have myself. You have Sam Sater. You have all these different shows, all these different things. The New York Times publishing MMT stuff. The LA Times posting or putting out MMT stuff. You've got all this data coming out now where people are realizing, son of a bitch, that shit I was taught before is all wrong. It's all wrong. It's all screwed up. Something ain't right. Where'd they come up with that $700 billion? Where'd they come up with that $700 billion for the damn military? They didn't raise my taxes, but yet here we are. I'm not joking. I saved screenshots of all these knuckleheads that would write these long diatribes telling me I was full of shit. Then the other day, Sunday, the 18th, I had Stephanie Kelton and Bill Mitchell on. And in a joking moment, I said, so tell me, do federal taxes fund spending? Or excuse me. I said, do taxes fund spending? And Stephanie funnily, jokingly came back and goes, it depends on what level you're talking about. I said, federal. And she goes, no, they don't. Taxes don't fund spending. It's like, bam! On film. On film. It wasn't Steve saying it. I'm just the messenger. It was the bigs. It was the executives, the ones that get it, saying it point blank, academics that have done the work. So it's not Steve. The reason why people focus on me, number one, is because I'm prolific. I do this daily. The other reason they focus on me is because I'm unapologetically popping you in the forehead, making you listen to this stuff. Because, unfortunately, the change that I'm demanding you see, which is not really something I'm making up, it's the reality, right? This reality isn't about perception at all. It's not like, well, some say this, some say that, it's all an opinion, it's different. No. It's simple. It's the facts, Jack. And so when people come at you and they start saying the same thing you heard 6 months prior, well, what about hyperinflation in Weimar Republic and Argentina and Venezuela? And my God, they're going to do petro thing. They're going to use a cryptocurrency, get rid of the dollar. Well, that's going to bring the whole world to its knees now, isn't it? No, it's not. But they want it to because, damn it, they want to be right. They don't care what the conversation is. They don't care what the truth is. They want to be right. And they want to be right at any and all costs. And when you prove they're wrong, they double down and they'll get angry. And then they'll start talking about your tone. I don't like the way you said that. It came off pretty negative to me. Made me feel small. I don't like the way you talked about that. For the longest time, MMTers in the back channels would discuss, well, shit, man. We don't want to piss everybody off. Grumbine's over there throwing friggin' dynamite in the lake and the fish are all rising. Who's going to scoop up the fish and nurse them back to health, man? You guys, right? Grumbine's just throwing the dynamite in and bringing them to the surface. But the reality is that to break the chains of your perceived reality it sometimes takes a wake-up call, and it can't always be a stroke on the cheek and a kiss on the neck. Sometimes it has to be an alarm clock style, because there's an impending danger coming. And if you don't make corrective action, people are going to die. Now, today, beautiful global warming kind of day. It was 78 degrees here in Pennsylvania. I think some people said it even got up to 81 degrees in February. That's crazy, right? But if you think about it, if you talk to somebody about climate change and you say, look, man, guys, science is backing this up. And now the weather patterns are getting all kooky. It's not sustained. It's not, there's no science behind the carbon, this, that, and the other, whatever. But here's this thing, this phenomenon, and you see the seawater changing, and you see different algae coming up, and you see different patterns of fish and wildlife, and you see different parts of the country becoming barren and need water, and you see a whole bunch of different changes. And yet the people don't want to believe that something cataclysmic is coming, or maybe not cataclysmic. Maybe it's just a change that we all, ride off into the sunset and everything's okay. Who knows? I don't know. But the models suggest it's going to be cataclysmic. So if you sit there and you talk to people and you're like, guys, we've got to do something about this. The more passionate you are about what needs to change, the more you're going to be cast as a kook by the people that don't want to believe that something is coming. They don't want to believe the science. They don't want to believe the facts. They would rather paint you out as a kook. And so again, perception. How does somebody committed and convicted that climate change and the environment are going to hell in a handbasket, and that we got to make radical change without sounding like their hair is on fire and that they've been paying too much attention to the left-wing version of Alex Jones? Oh my God, chemtrails, whatever, right? I mean, reality is that we don't know how to communicate with each other, and we are not willing to be open-minded to break down the walls to allow us to absorb new knowledge, because we've got too many blockers, too many barriers, too many personal things that we've dealt with in our own life that prevent us from hearing information, taking what we need, and leaving the rest. We want to police the way someone says something versus take the information and own it ourselves and be in control of ourselves. We want to change them and the way they speak. We don't want to be the ones that own our own reality and make changes regardless of whether people kiss us on the forehead or not. This is a really egregious, pernicious, nonstop thing that happens in our society. We're run to the bone. We go to work, we come home, we're exhausted. We don't want to take the time to read 12 articles to learn that this thing that we've known forever, that we're comfortable in, that is killing us, but we're comfortable, is somehow or another got to change or we're going to die. We don't want to have to read it. We don't want to have to do anything. We don't want to have to do anything. We just want to live. We just want to be. We don't want to have to deal with you making us change our mind. We don't want to have to think. And when you make us think, we get angry. And then we start poking holes in the messenger. Start carving up the messenger. Reality is we've got to own our own interpretations as well, because we can't control others. And so when you look at this, we have two problems. We have the receiving of information, and we have the disseminating of information. What a clusterfuck our world is, isn't it? I mean, everything's complicated. Everybody can take exception to the slightest changes of tone, to the slightest word change. Too much passion in the voice, felt bad. Too little passion, no, I don't think he means it. Too specific, well, you shouldn't have called him out. Too generic, oh my God, is he talking about me? Over and over again, we are slaves to the perception of others, how they see us, how they envision what we say or do. And as a movement, that's pretty daunting task to navigate waters that have no clear playbook, have no clear rule book, have no clear way of one-way communicating. If I do this, then this happens. No, not necessarily. You know, if everybody is rowing on the right side of the boat, then the boat's going to go in circles. You got to have somebody rowing on the left side too, right? But you got to go straight. If you do that, you're going to go to your destination as long as you've got a balance. But you can't force that. And it's a pretty sweet spot to get it to where everybody's rowing properly in the right direction. Everybody's saying it just so. Everybody's taking it just so. Everybody's putting equal effort in. Everybody's got equal focus. Everybody knows they're on the same team, etc. But that's not the norm. That's not reality. Reality is we're all broken. And we decide that we're going to perceive things however the fuck we're going to perceive them. 5 people in the room, 5 people heard 5 different messages. And then you've got these people over here who don't like bullying, so they think they perceive somebody's bullying, so they naturally bond with the person who feels persecuted. So now all of a sudden, we've got a new game here. We got a new warfare going on. The perception battle is on. Some people are fighting to protect the person who feels victimized. Some people are fighting for the person that spoke up because they know that the person didn't say that or wasn't intending that. Countless times talking about economics, we had people come in here and go, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're stupid. And those people, we would pounce on. We would say, nah, here's our facts. You are a murderer by proxy, dude. You don't even realize it. By the stuff you're peddling, you are literally cutting the poor off at the knees. But the people that came in and says, I don't understand that. Can you give me some information? We're like, yeah, sure, no problem. Here you go. Hey, sure, here you go. We weren't attacking those people. But the people that would saunter in and go, well, you obviously never heard of Weimar Republic. Dude, I've heard about it 1,000,000 times. You're insulting my intelligence bringing that slop this way. I wouldn't come and do a live stream day in and day out if I didn't have a clue what I was talking about. Or more importantly, I wouldn't bring experts in to talk about it and ask them leading questions to give you the answers that you have. Prophet hath no honor in his own home, man. Whew. Keep low, boy. I remember where you came from. So you got to bring in somebody because the appeal to authority is so great. This is no joke. This is what we're facing. And it's very vital that we understand it because you can't change it. It's not going to change. This will be the way it is till the end of time. Might be slightly different because people maybe will have less work to do. Maybe we've decided the people shouldn't be destitute and we've made their lives better. I don't know. But I do know this. People will always perceive what you say through their lens. So it's important to know this. Nobody really wants to know what you know until they know how much you care. And so people talk about, hey man, I've watched the track record. I see so-and-so shows up every day of the week, putting their life on hold, putting everything they've got into X, Y, and Z. I know they're the real article. So I'm going to go out of my way to probably give them a little bit of latitude. I'm not going to be too harsh on them because that's just how I roll. Flip side is you see somebody who lollygags, kind of shows up when they show up. maybe you feel some kind of way about that person because they're not pulling their weight. Maybe you feel like you're being abused, like maybe you're being taken advantage of, you know? Well, my kids are going without tonight because I felt like this was more important. So you go to work, you go to your job, your boss says, this is what I need you to do. And when your boss is elevating you, or at least in your eyes, he's elevating you. And when your boss is putting you down and kicking you in your teeth and making you feel like your short time are going to fire you if you don't blah, blah, blah. And that's another feeling, right? That shit. So all of a sudden you start looking in the white papers, looking for a new job. But communication requires an active listener and communicating in statements that elicit feedback, a two-way convo. Now, live stream doesn't really give you that because this is a monologue. But in your daily life, there are teachers and there are students. And then sometimes the student is the teacher. It just depends on the subject. People have to be able to play both roles, and they got to be able to listen as well as talk. It's not easy. It's all very difficult. So when it comes down to communication, as hard as this is for me to say, be gentle with each other, because we're all coming at these subjects with our own baggage. We have a lens that's blocking the statements being made, that are coloring it and filtering it in such a way that it maybe doesn't look anything like the intent from the speaker. We perceived it in such a way that we're almost paranoid. You ever been on a date with somebody and you look over here like this, and there's a clock on the wall, and you're just trying to see what time it is, so you do this? And lo and behold, at that one moment, this really, really pretty girl walks in the door. They look over, look back at you, they're like, you were checking her out, weren't you? It's like, no, promise. Just looking at the clock right there. Honest to God. Yeah, right. Okay. See, we cross these lines where we accuse people, where we make accusations that can't be verified. It's my opinion, so I'm entitled to it. Well, you accuse me of something. You falsely accuse me of something. That's one of those unforgivable sins to me. Don't ever falsely accuse me of something, ever, ever. My family knows better. That's how serious I am about that, right? My family knows don't falsely accuse Steve of something, because it's one of the very few things that he just can't quite get over. But we all have our own special thing, right? We all have that special something. And in order for us to move forward, we've got to kind of move our buttons, because we've got to deal with people that aren't like us. We've got to deal with people that come from different backgrounds. And we've got to make the same points to them that we would make to people that look like us, sound like us, live like us, have the same history as us, and the same education as us, and the same. We have to look beyond those that are exactly like us to make the kind of change that we need to make. And this is a really big deal. I don't know if this resonates with you. Hopefully, when this live stream is over in like 2 seconds, you'll be able to take this back and you'll say, that Grumbine guy, I don't know, man. But you'll be able to think about it and make changes. Make changes so that you're an effective communicator. I've got work to do myself. I have a message. I have a method. Now I've got to work on varying it per my audience. So with that, I hope you guys have a great night, great morning. It's almost 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I got to be up pretty daggone early for my work. So with that, I'm going to bid you guys a farewell. Good luck with your activism and communicating these messages that need to be communicated. I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives, wishing you all a great night. Thanks.